Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of JourneyCast. My name is Levi, and this is my co-host.
I am still Alicia.
And we're here at the YXH conference with Josh Smith. Are you the youth I saw on your door, you're the associate pastor?
Whoa, that's fancy.
It depends how impressive I want to be.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to impress people, I'm the associate pastor.
Okay,
If I'm trying to relate to the kids,
You're the youth pastor.
I'm the youth pastor.
You're a man of many
I'm
hats.
Thomas's youth pastor.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a live audience here with us today, so thanks everyone for joining us. We'll get into maybe some questions towards the end of this. But yeah, we're here at the conference, and
You might even be able to hear it right now.
yeah, they're doing a sound check downstairs. What was it that was on your heart for this? Why a citywide event? Why a citywide YXH Youth? Where did that come about?
Part of it, honestly, like obviously, God was in it,
Yeah,
and that's the main reason. But part of the reason, honestly, is nostalgia.
yeah,
Because when I became a Christian, I was 20 in the 90s, and we had a citywide in Regina. It was just a blast getting the whole church together. So we had our little groups, and then the whole church, there's just something special about it. And I just wanted, now that I'm a dad of students,
right.
I've got 3 kids in our youth ministry, one who's a leader. Part of it is I just want them to experience it. And there's something, when the church is in its own silos, and it's like, oh, I got to keep my sheep in my pen,
Yeah,
then we're missing out. And so, yeah, a big part of it was I wanted to offer this opportunity to my children and then to our students. And then the other side is just, we wanted our kids to know they're not alone.
yeah,
Because I would hear from my children, hey, I'm at Alexandria. I feel like I'm all by myself. I'm the only Christian in my grade.
right. Yeah,
And it's like, I know there's other ones.
yeah.
But you don't know who they are.
Well, we've heard some of those stories already, right?
Absolutely.
Like any
Yep.
citywide event, like they come to an event and they're like, "Hey, you go to
Yeah.
church? You believe in God?" Like, "Oh, I
didn't know that.
Didn't know that. Like, it's nice to know I've got someone in my corner at school or at whatever, So
Yeah. And I mean, that's what I think one of the enemy's attacks on this generation is like, you're by yourself.
yeah,
You got to fight this by yourself. And just even today when we're worshiping and kids are just like linking, arms around each other and stuff, it's like, man,
it's cool to see.
alone.
Yeah,
I mean, speaking personally, even just like the youth pastor side of things, sometimes the devil can get in the way and be like, you're alone,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's been nice to be a part of a community of youth pastors here in Medicine Hat. And like, I think we all really like each other.
yeah.
I mean, I think.
I get along
There's
with
that
you
one
guys.
guy, but
Yeah.
We won't say his name.
But he got demoted to senior pastor. So
Yeah, no, and it's been cool too to just see like the different ways we do things.
yeah, we can benefit from that.
Yeah, we can learn from that.
I think that's too, one of the awesome things about this from the very beginning was it's not going to be at one church because there's been a few iterations of this. I've been in Medicine Hat for 14 years, and there's been a few different iterations, and one of them that never really took off was based on a church and a person.
Right.
And it was actually a student with a great heart, and he was like, I'm going to lead worship, and I'm going to teach, which I thought was funny. He's bold. But he's like, come to my church to the show, and it was almost like, I'm going to build it on me. So the fact that it was like, we want to be at every single church so that everyone can show off their place.
Right.
It's like, this is, I don't want to make it sound territorial, but it's like, this is our home. I want you to see our room. And then we get a chance to see everybody else's room and different worship teams, different speakers. And it's like, we just want to celebrate,
Yeah.
what God is doing in each neighborhood, in each church and all this stuff. So it's not on one person, right?
I like the different priorities too. Like Simon's church wanted to host us and feed us all
Yeah.
ice cream, right? It was
Yeah.
so exciting. Like they're like, food, this is our thing, right? Josh, do you have any apologies you want to make to anyone in the room?
You know what? I like to publicly say that Donna Jordan, in my mind, is a giant in this city. Not as
Well
short
put.
as she's a spiritual grandmother to hundreds of people, and Here's the thing. The truth is,
You only bug people you like.
it's true.
Yeah.
If I don't like you, I won't make fun of you.
Yeah.
But if I like you,
It's because you get along.
Yeah.
And you know they can take it.
it's because we have a trust, and it's just
Yeah.
you know what? I have a difficulty expressing. Are we recording?
Yeah, we're back up. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since my mom probably won't watch this,
Yeah. I can cut this part out if you want. This can be exclusive to the room.
I have a little bit of difficulty expressing my love because growing up, I knew my parents loved me. Never questioned it. Okay,
Yeah.
they acted like it, but we never said it. I don't know if that's your family, but we just never said it. My kids, we don't go half a day without saying it. But in my house of origin, we never said it. And I say it so much to my kids. One day, and this was only a few years ago. One day, I accidentally told my mom I love her.
Oh, accidentally.
Whoops.
Yeah,
See.
because we don't say it.
Yeah.
So we were on the phone, and true story, we were ending up the conversation. It's like, okay, mom, love you. And inside I was like, ooh. And my mom goes, okay, then. I know they do. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
Donna, I love you. And I wouldn't poke fun if I didn't admire you and respect you and love you. So thank you. I appreciate that.
There we go. Some healing has taken
Yes,
place on
yeah.
the podcast today.
Yeah, you were talking about just being just around one person, right? Like, and this has been a thing I've seen come up is like we can't do things on our own. Like we need to come together and support each other, especially when it's this collaborative thing. Someone told me once that it's easy for once something becomes kind of successful, for someone to want to take credit. Like, oh wow, YXH conference was great this weekend. I want to take credit for this, you know, or, oh, it was great because so-and-so did this. Oh, it was great because, but that's actually just taking away the glory from God and trying to say, oh, it's because of what I did. And it's no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's if you try to pin credit for any of this on any person,
Yeah.
it's like,
I mean, we're thankful for a lot of people
For
involved,
sure.
you know.
but if
like
you
a-
try to say like,
yeah.
oh, you know, because of this person, that person, this is happening, and you know,
Yeah.
wow, let's look up to them or whatever. Let's put them on a podcast and talk to them. You know, it's like trying to soak up water with a plastic bag. It's
Yeah.
like we just know. We know.
Yeah.
We know. I was just talking to my senior pastor. Before the conference, just the day before or the morning of.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm just so glad to be in a place where I shouldn't be if it weren't for God. Like, it's like, we have no right.
You couldn't have done this on your own.
Watching
Yeah.
Peabody and watching Kate Thompson on our stage, I felt a little bit like a
Imposter
an
syndrome.
imposter.
Yeah.
It's like, what is he doing here? Why is he in Medicine Hat?
Yeah.
And I told our church this morning, because people came up to me, they say, how did you get him?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people never heard of him, but they knew his music. They didn't know the name. And I had a few people, they're like, how did you get him? And I said, I just got out of the way.
Yeah.
It's not, we didn't get him. God brought him in.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
Yeah.
I was happy.
What were some of the things that you saw God doing? Like when you were growing up, you talked about like the stuff you got to see when you were growing up and you were doing citywide things. What were some of the things that were different from like your typical youth group that were happening with that you're like, oh wow, this is like valuable. Obviously those connections, running into people.
As stereotypical old person as it sounds, social media sucks.
Yeah.
And back then it was like you had to be there,
Yeah.
or you didn't.
Real connections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was that part of it that was like, we're not alone. We're part of the city church, and then there was an expectancy where it's like, because of the unity, because of the coming together, it's like, yeah, our youth groups meet once a week wherever we meet, and God is there, and it's awesome. But it's just when we get more people marching in the same direction for the same purpose,
I think it's so cool too that like I mean, at least a few of our youth groups have youth on different nights.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I know of like a few kids that like there were some kids the other Tuesday. I'm like, you go to the link. What are you doing here? Like I'm like, oh no, but that's great. You know, like they're like going to just spending their week at
Multiple youth
Link,
groups.
First Assembly, River Valley. You know, whatever Temple, like all these different churches, and I'm like, that's great to see. Like, I mean, I hope they have a home church, but like it's great that they're just like connecting and doing that.
It's good for them to hear from other voices too, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, it can come to that too, like, right? Like that, like whatever Josh says or whatever Alicia says is like what I believe. It's like, well, no, you should be in the Word. You should be, you know, like you said this morning, fact checking, or this afternoon, fact checking what is being said.
I have so many questions piling up for you, and
Oh,
I
wow.
see like more, I'm assuming being written down, that or they're just doodling. But are you ready for some questions?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, none of them are that terrible. So, yeah, you're probably going to be okay. This one in particular is interesting to me. Is your name Josh, or is Josh just short for something?
No, it's actually short for Joshua.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would we have ever known that until now? It's important. So we can move on then.
Yeah.
Probably. But
I mean, if anybody wants to know,
do you have more to say?
it's Joshua Keenan Smith.
Ah.
Kenan.
Nice.
Do you know what? Does Keenan mean anything? Or?
He was an actor in the 70s
Oh.
that my mom liked, so
Cool.
she picked it. I
remember-
was almost named Keenan Joshua, but my dad fought. He's like, I don't want it.
Yeah. I remember when you came to town, they're like, yeah, the new youth pastor's name's Josh Smith. I'm like, you just made that name up.
Right?
I don't, you pulled that out of the
Yeah.
hat. Did you mean John Smith? Like, sure. Nope.
Here's a fun fact for you. My middle name is Michelle, but my parents only put one L in it and didn't tell me. We never had this conversation. So, like, I'm not joking. I was 16 years old filling out my, like, SIN card information, and I learned for the first time that I'd been spelling my middle name wrong for my whole life.
What?
For real. Yeah. It's a parent fail, if you
I
ask
think
me.
around that time, I knew my middle name.
Yeah.
But I was like, had to confirm the spelling.
What is your middle name?
Nathan.
You looked hesitant like that was a bad name. I was waiting
My
for something
brother's name is
terrible.
Nathan.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good name. Anyone in here named Nathan? It's a good name. No, that'd be.
Yeah, that's a terrible name.
How did you become a Christian, and what made you become a pastor?
Oh, that's a good story.
Great question. I'll make it short because
No,
we
you can,
So many
you
here.
can dive into that if
I
you
can dive
want.
into a little bit.
I had a question about that earlier, about that pastor that you started talking, because I've heard this story. It's a good story.
Yeah. I actually talked to I shared this with my hockey team,
Okay.
which my church knows all about, the flying pylons. We'll take it back a little bit. So back in 2011 to 2013, I was out of the pastorate and I was working construction. And then I got on staff here at the Link. And after a few years, I lost my connection with the community. I just felt like, because when I was in construction, I was surrounded every single day by people who needed to know Jesus. And I felt sorry for myself because I was like, I'm a trained pastor. I'm very, very highly educated, and I'm applying for jobs, and other people are getting jobs that I deserve. And I felt very sorry for myself. And I confess that now, that it's like I was in the wrong, that God was much smarter than me. But at the time, I felt sorry for myself. And then when I finally listened to the voice of God, he said, you're still a pastor. You're pastoring these guys. He said, you're building houses for free, and they're paying you to pastor your crew. And so anyway, I came on staff here, and over time, I tried to keep in contact with my crew, but they just weren't as interested as I was. And I felt I'm losing my connection. My bubble is full of Christians, and I need to meet some people who need to know Jesus. So then I prayed about it, and he's like, God told me, join a hockey team, because there's almost no Christians
Yeah.
playing in that league. So I joined the Flying Pylons. And so anyway, I've been praying into this, building this relationships for years with these guys. And this past season, I had a young fella, 19 years old, my defensive partner, and we've been building a relationship. And I've had many chances to share my testimony with guys on the bench, things like that. And as we're on the bench, my daughter, who was 20, almost 21, she was in Australia for YWAM, and he was just asking about her, and he said, hey, would you be cool if she wanted to date a non-Christian? I said, no way. Like, there's no way. Why, are you interested? Like, the application's not open for you. So the game ended, and the conversation kind of was going into the dressing room, and I thought it would just end there. And but I kept going, and he was sitting across the dressing room from me. So we were just talking, and they were, getting their equipment off and just doing whatever, and we were having this conversation. And they started to listen a little bit, because he's like, well, why would you not let me date your daughter as a non-Christian? So I just said, very briefly that, we believe very strongly that we are heading in a different direction, to be quite honest with you, that we're serving Jesus. And if we're not on the same page with the most intimate relationship in our life, which is with your spouse, which is a reflection of our communal relationship with Jesus, then you're being pulled in the wrong direction. You're not serving the same God, and you're the yoke.
Yep.
You're trying to pull along a yoke with somebody who's
You're dragging, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and he's like, I respect that, but would you forbid that? I said, you know what? To be honest with you, she's her own woman. We've raised her for 20 years, and we hope we've done a good job that she wouldn't want to. It's like, if we're not on the same page, forget about it. So anyway, so that starts to wind down. And people are half listening, half not listening. And then he says, so my grandma was going to a church faithfully for years and years and years. But then she stopped going because they said homosexuality is wrong, and she just couldn't go with that. What do you think?
Oh, man.
And I tell you, our dressing room, which is usually full of laughter, crude jokes, swear, all kinds of stuff, it was silent. And they all want to know, what do you think? And that's for another podcast. But no, I just in front of
It
the
usually
group.
starts with that question for me. Like when I used to be an electrician, and
Yeah.
then people would find out I'm an
Yeah.
Christian, like, oh, so you hate gay people? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my, well, back it up here. I did not say that. I'll never say
Yeah.
that. But like, there's so many things. Like it's like you said.
Yeah.
Another
So,
episode.
at the risk of this getting taken off the internet,
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? We as a church affirm biblical, like a biblical model of relationships. And I said, you know what? It's designed that way. And I know how you guys feel. Here's the thing. I said, is that Christians have done a bad job of communicating.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, we love everybody. I said, I'm no better
Yeah.
than the person next to me. I said, like, you guys see me as better because I don't do what you do. And somehow in your worldly minds, it's like, well, he's a nicer person.
Yeah, he's better
and that
than
makes
us.
him,
Yeah.
whatever. He's not into the same stuff. But I said, the difference between you and me is that I follow Jesus, and you're one decision away from that.
Yeah.
And then he was pretty satisfied enough with that. I said, we love people, and I just related to my daughter. I said, we would prefer that people just make decisions that line up with God's plan. So I won't tell you how to live your life.
Yeah.
And we've had people in our life who live that way. We love them.
And that's interesting, right? Because I think people are used to living that way.
Yeah.
Of deciding how they're going to live their life based on what other people think of them. So that's like kind of the format, the framework in which they're used to. So it's like, well, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
Because depending on what you think is like whether it's right, Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they were kind of okay with that. And then my team captain, he said,
You're off the team now.
yeah, he said, in my universe, there is no hell. And I was like,
There's also no justice.
well, it'd be nice to live in your universe, bro, but it's not your universe.
Yeah.
And then some of them asked me, like, hey, when's your church meeting? I was like, oh, it's nice that we have this visible church. I said, yeah, the one up in the hill, the old Dream Center. We're there at 10 o'clock, come anytime. And none of them yet, but still praying for those guys, anyone who listens to your podcast.
Still scoring goals though.
Pray for the pie. I scored one goal this year.
Yay.
I'm not that good, but neither is our team.
Yeah. You have fun though.
We have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So back to that question.
Yeah, how did you become a pastor?
I don't know why I started on this tangent. How I became a Christian. I grew up playing hockey. I was a hockey kid, but I didn't play. I play out now. I play defense. But growing up, I played goal, and I did pretty well. When I was 16, I got on the protected list, it's called. So there was a team, the Victoria Cougars. They moved from Victoria to off the island. I can't remember where. Prince George. But when they're on the island, they put me on their list, which means no other team can take you.
Yeah.
And so I was getting ready to go out there, and 16 years old, like, man, moving out to the island and playing in the WHL, like, what's better than that? And I was so excited. One night, I couldn't sleep. And what do you do when you can't sleep? You make some French fries, 3 in the morning. And so I put some grease or oil in a pan and heat it up. And then I go into the living room, which is, we've got a wall between the two. And I remember looking, and behind the TV, I could see these reflections of light. And at first I was like, that's weird. And then I realized it's coming from the kitchen, these reflections. And so I go in, and it had started on fire, and it was already cresting off the ceiling. And I couldn't think of what to do. I knew not to put water on it. Kids never put water on an oil fire.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a lid. I couldn't find the baking powder or whatever. So we had a door just, as far as this door. So I was like, I'm just going to pick it up and get it out of the house before I burn this down. And as I was doing it, I spilled oil on my hand, dropped the thing because my hand is literally the skin melted off.
Yeah. You can still see it on your hand to this day.
This white.
Really,
all
actually?
This white. That was 3rd degree burns there.
Yeah.
And
Wasn't it down to the bone at some points?
The knuckle. Well, I'll get to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I dropped it, and it was July of in Regina, and it was hot. Mm-hmm. So I was 16-year-old kid. I'm just wearing a pair of shorts, and I dropped this thing, and the fire just whoosh, right up my body, and burned all the hair off my arms, nostrils, eyebrows. All I had left was a little round spot of hair,
Like cartoonish.
yeah,
Yeah.
That because the fire went straight up.
Yeah.
The only thing I said until the next day was, I'm on fire. And I remember I went upstairs, 3 in the morning, and the commotion, my dad comes out of his bedroom, and I was right there holding my hand with the skin literally folded, like melted over. And he was about to yell, because he's a dad, and he looks at it, and he like almost swallowed his tongue. He's like, and then he just closed the door and went in the room.
Just leaves you
Just
in the
left you.
hallway.
Yeah, and then my mom, who's a nurse, who I know loves me, but has zero sympathy.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Looks at my hand. She's an ER nurse.
Yeah.
Looks at my hand, melted over, and she goes, "What did you do?" Like, I'm on fire. And so we go to the hospital, and the doctor says, "You want to see something cool?" And I'm in shock,
Yeah,
which is a neat
course.
feeling, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Not
want to
really
be in
feeling
it
the
again.
pain yet.
And he goes, "You want to see something cool?" And I was just like, and he takes my knuckle and he goes like that, and the bone popped through what little skin was left.
Sick.
And so I saw my own bone.
Sick. That's
So-
not cool.
So I didn't make it to training camp in September because my hand was all, I couldn't bend the knuckle. It took me 2 years before I could bend all the way because the skin was fresh.
Yeah.
So then I made a comeback with the Minot Americans in the SJHL and blew my knee. And that was it for my goaltending career. I had already, what's the word? Given my word to Lake Superior State University or to play college in the NCAA, and all of it was gone.
How old were you when
Committed.
you blew your knee?
18.
18.
17.
Oh, 17.
Almost 18. Yeah, in my grade 12 year, and that was it for hockey. And growing up, we never had any spiritual anything in our house. My mom is like, she had a Bible, and her grandpa was a preacher, but we never heard about it. Never went to church ever, except for
Christmas.
funeral, wedding, not Christmas.
Oh, really?
No, we weren't even Christmas Christians.
Priesters.
Yeah. So we never went to church all my life, so I never had any of that basis. And when I lost, my identity was in hockey, right? So when I lost it, I didn't know who I was. And I had never drank, I never did drugs, I never stayed out late. I just, everything was about I'm going to be a professional hockey player, and I need to do everything I can to do that. And when that was gone, it's like, well, what do I do? And I remember I had a friend in the Army who came back to visit. He's like, hey, do you want to drink? I said, I don't drink. And he said, well, why not? I said, I don't know why not. So then I remember he gave me a Ryan Coke. I drank that. I was like, should I feel anything? He's like, well, you're a big guy. Like, not really. So then I was sitting down. So I was like, well, give me a double, 2 of those. So I drank that. And I said, should I feel anything? He's like, well, you should. I said, I don't feel nothing. So give me 2 more. So he gave me 2 more. So in about 8 minutes, I had 5, the equivalent to 5 beers. I was like, I don't feel nothing. I'm going to go to the bathroom. And then I fell off my chair because I felt it.
Because he stood up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the next 6 months, that's all I did was drink to forget, because I had hope, I had future, I had everything in hockey, my identity, everything. And then when that was gone, the alcohol made me not think about it. So I'd wake up and just drink and go to school. I was at the University of Regina at the time. And then I would drink to forget, to escape reality. And it was hopeless because I had no spirituality at all. I was an atheist. I didn't believe there was a God anywhere. I believe that we just cease to exist. We're all here by accident. When we die, it's just it. And a little bit of me hope to die. Not enough to do anything, but it's like, man, if I don't wake up tomorrow,
you're just kind of at a dead end. There's no future to anything.
Fall asleep,
all your eggs,
and never wake up. And of course, I know the reality now. Like, praise Jesus that I woke up.
Yeah.
And then, this is where the hockey team came in.
Okay.
Now I made the connection. How I became a Christian, I could not believe in a spiritual world that I couldn't prove. I could only believe in what I could see. I couldn't believe in you.
Right.
Like, I think, therefore I am. I could only be assured that I exist. And one night, the only night in those 6 or 8 months that I was not drinking, our house was empty, which is a whole long story. But we lived in a haunted house, like a legit haunted house, like a demonic house.
Wow.
It's part 2. But basically, I'll make it short. Me and some buddies were sitting around, and I was tired of my parents seeing me the way I was, because I knew it was awful and I knew it hurt their hearts. So I just wanted to not let them see me. So we were sitting around, and there was a house that came up for rent, and we were like, that's on Lawrence Street. Is that the haunted house? So it was on Unsolved Mysteries, that TV show, for being haunted. They did an episode in Regina.
So it's like legit.
Legitimately. So we drove, and we're like, that's the house. And what do you do when you find a haunted house? Just take my money. We got to get this place.
No.
And now me, as a non-believer in anything outside of me,
just looking for some entertainment.
I wanted to believe.
Oh,
it
really?
sucks to not believe.
Yeah.
Being an atheist is so hopeless that it's like there's nothing after this. There's no greater purpose. And my mind, I was actually a poli-sci major, because if I was a politician, if I made a law, maybe they'd remember me longer than my lifetime. That was the point, was to have my name remembered longer than I existed. But I wanted to believe in something. So we were there, and little things happened that it was just coincidence. My roommate's playing tricks, so I had a calendar on the wall, and I remember one time going into the kitchen, past it was on the right side. I poured myself a cup of milk because I'm a healthy guy, and I came back, and it was on the other side of the wall, and I was like, it was a little bit weird, but my roommates could have done it with I just wasn't paying enough attention, or that's a pretty B-level demon.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
not a good trick.
Scary. No.
Show me something better. So there's a few things like that, creaks and whatever. But I was in my room where there was a couple murders in this house.
Oh.
So I was in the attic where one of them happened. I picked the room because of that. Oh. And there's I'm keeping the story short, so I won't tell all the stories about this room. But anyway, so one night, backtrack just one tiny bit. My one roommate was a Christian, not a very good one, but he was a Christian. Why he lived there, I don't know. But he brought his priest. He was an Anglican, and he brought his priest to pray over the house. Went over to he anointed every room with oil, and he got to my room, and I flipped out. I was just like, get the heck out of my room, you duty person. And I cursed them out. They never anointed my room. Every other room in the house was anointed. And mine wasn't. I don't know, I was sleeping one night, and it was one night I wasn't drinking, and Satan showed up. And I remember just opening my eyes. I was just wide awake, more alert than I've ever been in my life. Just like, wow, I'm I'm just here. I feel everything. Like, it was just weird. I just felt
Like you were asleep and then all of a sudden you're just awake.
Yeah. And I know it wasn't a dream. And I'll tell you why in a second. But I looked over my bed, and I saw this cloud. And it was just like, you know how they do like these sped up, time lapse, and it's just like the clouds like
moving, and
so it was this like cloud over my bed that was just like swirling, and it looked like the inside of an explosion, like just red and orange and yellow, and just like this like ominous hovering cloud, and then it just right into me, like, and I could feel it through each layer of, like, I just so aware. Each layer of skin, I remember feeling my eyeballs, like it came into me. And when it came into me, every thought in my mind, and you always think like, you're driving down the highway and you're like, oh, what would happen if I just drove off a bridge?
Yeah.
Oh, but that's not.
You're up on a ladder. What if I just jumped off right now?
Yeah, you don't do that kind of thing.
No.
But when it took over, this demon took over my thoughts, I wanted to do evil things, and I won't say them now because it's not. I don't want to glorify that part of the story.
No.
But you honestly can't imagine. And it wasn't a well, what if? It was a deep desire. I wanted to do it. I wanted to murder, but not just that. Worse. But then it left me. I felt sucked into the floorboards, and I felt it like claws in my back as it was going through. It felt like it just started here and whoosh, right through to the basement, gone. But in that moment, it felt like hours. But it was probably like a half second. And then I sat up on my bed, and I was like, what just happened? And so I went the rest of the night until 7 in the morning. I went 7-Eleven to 7-Eleven until I got kicked out. They're like, you can't stay here, man. Like, go away. So I just couldn't be alone because I was so scared it was going to happen again, and I would act on it. So then I went to my university. We had a religion board, and it was like, hey, if you want to come to our club. So I pulled off one by one, and I went to their meet. Sometimes it was a few weeks, sometimes it was 1 week, and I'd say, this is what happened. Tell me about it. And nobody gave me any explanation that I was like, that's true. I can receive that. So nothing
made sense.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So I went to an imam. I went to a Wiccan. I went to a Buddhist. I went to whoever would listen to me. And then the way I got to church the very first time, another one of my roommates, not a very good Christian, but he was a Christian, and he was dating a girl from this church, but he's also dating a girl from another city.
Oh.
Now the girl from the church thought they were exclusive. The girl from the other city knew they weren't. And she was like, I want to check out your church. But he was like, well, I don't want anyone to know that I'm dating you also because I'm a good Christian. So then he's like, Josh, can you pretend to be this girl's boyfriend so that she can check out our church? So I was like, yeah, I'll do that because I was curious and I wanted to flirt with his girlfriend in front of him. So let's do it. So we went. It was a college and career night. I think it was like January 3rd or January 4th, 1996. And guy Kevin Wagner, who is still a mentor of mine.
Yes.
He was the youth pastor at the time, and he was talking about whatever, I don't even know, talking about the Bible. And I said, hey, what about this? And he would kind of give like a quick answer, but try to get back on track. And I would just be disruptive. And he said, hey, you got some really great questions. This is not a place to talk about them, but come visit me, and we'll talk about them because I want to talk about these. So then every Wednesday for 3 months, I went into his office, and the thing is, he's a way better human being than I am. Like he loves. You've met him.
Yeah.
Like he just loves people. He's just high on life. He met Jesus, and it was amazing. And I wanted to break him because I was like, there's no way anyone loves this hard. Forget about it. Yeah. So I went to his office, and I I would talk horribly. I would use bad language, and he just loved me. And it was insane to me. It's like, how do you
You're
keep
like trying to push him over the edge.
I was trying to
Yeah.
break him, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make this
I'll do
guy
whatever it
get
takes.
mad.
Yeah.
And he just loved me.
Just so you could prove him wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I brought every question legit, and he just answered it, with logic, with Bible, with science, and he said, "Can we, agree that this is possible?" So maybe he didn't take every question out of my mouth, but he's like, "Are you satisfied? Like, this is a possibility that this is true?" And I would be like, "Yeah, that is." March 1st, 1996, I looked across, and I had no more questions. I said,
Wow.
"Kevin, you're right. How do I do this?"
Yeah.
He said, "Man, you just tell Jesus he's Lord of your life." I was like, "All right, how?" So, we prayed, and that was it that day. The alcohol broke off. I used to, smoke cigarettes. I was never into drugs at all. Didn't smoke, didn't need to drink anymore. Everything just broke off. And I just shared when I told my hockey team, I said, the reason I believe in God is because Satan showed me his power. And I knew if the power that I experienced that I couldn't explain, but I knew was real, if that was the only power that existed, we would have killed each other out hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years ago. No one would exist anymore.
Yeah.
So there had to be an opposite. And that's
Yeah.
what my search was. Who is the
There had
other
to be
person?
something opposing. Yeah.
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 And Kevin showed me.
I think that's easy to forget, right? That there's an enemy.
Yeah.
That there's someone against us. I mean,
Yeah.
you had such a real experience with that. But it's easy to forget. We ask, why do bad things happen to good people? It's
Yeah.
like, well, we live in a broken world. We live in a world where there's an enemy who wants to kill and destroy. And he will do anything, anything he can to just ruin your day, to just get you upset, to get under your skin, to get to anything at all. And to believe that that's not the case, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Did you move out of that house?
You know what? When I became a Christian, we
Immediately?
not immediately. I did.
You're
stay
like,
for a
hey,
bit.
this doesn't seem like a good place to live.
Yeah, I did stay for a bit, but then the friendship kind of. I mean, there's 100 stories from that place, but the friendship kind of ran its course. I mean, we're still friends. I hung out with one of them. I was doing research for my dissertation, and just a few weeks ago we went out for lunch when I was in Regina. But
Oh, cool.
the other one lives on a beach in Nicaragua, so we don't hang out much. But we moved out of the house, and it was condemned. It was we were the last tenants.
Wow.
It was torn down. It's a parking lot now. 2136 Lawrence Street.
It's for the best, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't park there.
No.
And then I moved home and did some healing in the church, and then I was.
I'm curious, quickly, how many Wednesdays did you meet with Kevin before you?
It would have been
Maybe
about
that's
9. It was from the first Wednesday or the second Wednesday of January '96 to March.
Yeah.
I believe it was March 1st. Was a Wednesday '96.
Nice.
Someone can look that up real quick. What was March 1st '96? What day was that?
It's still here. We're good. That's just the screen on the camera. We got someone's concerned about the camera.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we
Zach.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for looking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in school to become a teacher. So God had always planted that in my heart to be with young people, to teach young people, because I had an amazing teacher. We're Facebook friends, and he's actually Christian.
March 1st was a Friday.
It was a Friday. Okay, March 1st, yeah.
We must have
would've-
shifted at one point.
No,
to
we
a
would have been
Friday.
at a youth event.
Oh, okay.
And it was probably the afternoon of the youth event that I was in there chatting with him. And I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, Kevin. I don't know Kevin that well, but from when I met him, it seems like that guy you can't get down. You can't do anything to
Yeah.
change his attitude.
Yeah.
I think that's a good quality to have, right? Just to
beautiful.
not be affected by people around you, to let them decide if you're going to be in a good mood or not. It's cool.
We've got 15 minutes and 15 questions.
Okay.
Can
I just want to say real quick.
Yeah, and
I wanted to
pepper you
be
with
I wanted
these.
to be Kevin. He was
Yeah.
the model for me, and it was only a few years ago that God released me from that.
Right.
Because I was like, Kevin just made me feel so loved, and I'm such a sarcastic
Comparing
jerk.
yourself to.
And it's like, why can't I be a better human? And God was
I have
like,
to say, you helped me realize what true sarcasm was. I had an idea of what sarcasm was, and then there would be Wait, why did he say that? I'm like, oh, it's a joke.
I think I can prove from
Oh.
Scripture that God is sarcastic,
Yeah,
at least at
exactly.
points
Yeah.
in the Bible. But God released me from that, and He said, "You know what? I made you this way.
Yeah.
So don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
But don't be Kevin."
Oh, right. Yeah. Quick thoughts. How do you feel about other religions?
Obviously, I follow this one because I believe it's the true religion. I think in general, religions lead to hopefully a better society in general. What I would say the difference I believe between who I follow and who they follow is that my hope isn't in my behavior. And a lot of religions are like, I'm behaving
Salvation
because
based on works.
I'm worried of being punished later.
Yeah.
I'm worried that
Right.
I'm going to come back as a toad or whatever. But it's paid for.
Yeah.
We have a living God. He's paid for me, and whatever I do is not because I want to earn something. It's how could I not serve Him?
Yeah.
He's so amazing. How could I not?
Yeah.
Okay. Tiny little paper, very
Yeah.
important question. What is your favorite hockey team?
You know what? Since 1983, when the Gretz, Grant Fuhr, Jörg Curie, Messier, I've been an Oilers fan since the 80s, since
Wow.
I was a young lad. So
Before you even lived in Alberta.
way before. But I
Yeah.
live in Regina.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of choices. But I'll root for every Canadian team until they miss the play or they're out of playoffs. So round 2,
If it's
I
not
stopped
a
watching.
Canadian team, who do you root for?
nobody. I stopped
Nobody?
watching.
Oh, really? You
I'm
just
not
stopped?
watching the playoffs
That's it, eh?
anymore because I
That's
honestly
it.
don't care who wins or loses at this point.
Wow.
30 years we haven't had a Canadian champion.
Wow. Come on,
I mean,
Oilers.
a Canadian-based
What are you
hockey
doing?
team.
But how many Canadians are on those American teams?
Well,
you know.
Las Vegas. What's the number? Don't they have like 20-some Canadians on their
Yeah,
team?
come on.
So,
Who is your favorite performance concert-wise this weekend? And don't say I like all of them. It says.
you can't put me in. What if Peabod watches this and I say Kate? Or what if
I
Kate
know.
watches this and I say...
I know.
Can I just... What I'll say is this. What is the super coolest thing about being part of organizing this is being a fan, getting to pick who I want to see.
Yeah, that is fun.
It's
Yeah.
like the very first call I made. I said this at the conference. The very first call I made when we were like, we got to bring in some kind of act, something that will up this from just a regular citywide. And my first call was Peabod because we love him. He's not a
Which is funny
well-known-
because we actually like just before that, like
Yeah.
a few months before, someone had introduced me to his music. I'm like, oh, this guy's a Christian artist. Like this is
Yeah.
actually good and not just worship music. Like it's good.
Yeah, I heard him playing at Whispering Pines over the.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, somebody else knows this guy.
Yeah, Denver. He was
Yeah.
the one who introduced me to him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we just play Christian playlists all the time. I mean, we're old,
Yeah.
so we play Apple playlists all the time. And he popped up, and I was like, this guy's legit.
Yeah.
So we started listening to him. My kids love him. So yeah, first call, I was like, he's a rapper. He's one guy, not a whole band. Maybe we could afford him.
Yeah.
And we could.
Yeah.
So I love Peabod.
Thanks, Peapod.
And he is the most legit dude. Like, such an amazing guy. Aaron, like spending time with Boydo.
Yeah.
Like, just who is my okay? If I had to pick one concert that I could have attended, and you're forcing me to pick, and assuming that Peabod and Boydo don't watch this,
Decade.
like
You can
I
say
love
kid.
them
You can say
all.
it. Yeah.
and I would bring them all back.
Yeah.
But as far as just like, hey, that was an amazing show.
Yeah.
I'd probably see Kate again.
They won't take it personally.
But
I'm
I
sure.
hope that Peabod would open for Kate, or maybe
Yeah.
maybe Kate would. I don't know. I hate to say
It's hard to pick favorites.
it would be easier
Yeah.
for you to ask me which is my favorite child.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite? No, I don't want to.
No.
It's Brielle because she's here.
This is kind of along the same lines, actually. Can you share the ideas you have for next year's conference? Do you have any already?
We don't. We're meeting tomorrow night. We're gonna debrief. We're gonna talk about
Are
this
we?
weekend. Yeah, check your texts. 5:00 tomorrow. I hope you're available. We're gonna meet. We're gonna debrief. We're gonna
Yeah.
talk about what was awesome. What were challenges? Obviously, one of the challenges is the building.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get 7 more kids next year, we don't have space upstairs. So, yeah, we honestly no ideas other than we want to do it again.
Yeah.
And it'll be a similar format. We want to bring in some guests that these kids would never have a chance to see otherwise.
Right. Yeah.
We want to bring in a speaker who is better than you and I, someone that has a different voice, is engaging, hits the young people where they're at. I think we're going to bring Boydo back.
Yeah.
I think he'll be
Guy's
leading
great.
worship again.
Yeah.
So,
It's great.
I mean, we would love to bring back Peabody and Cade, but
Some
we don't-
variety's good.
We don't want to bring the
YC,
same people over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. YC,
YC was
struggled
great.
from that.
YC was great.
YC was great, but having the same speaker 7 years in a row.
Actually, heard the same message more than
difficult.
once. I already knew
Yeah.
the end of the stories.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
here it comes.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's going to play the trumpet again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, no offense to Irma McManus, man of God. I love him, love his
Yeah.
books. But
Yeah.
if I hear 5 Ps one more time, forget about it.
Also, I really enjoyed having a conference in my hometown where I could
Yeah.
go to my own house and
Yeah.
sleep in my
Oh,
own
yeah.
bed.
Not sleeping
Like
on a church
I
floor
feel
was
tired,
so
you know,
nice.
like the last worship set, I'm like, my arms are too heavy to clap, but I'm in it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I remember falling asleep in a Toby Mac concert when I was young. That's how
Yeah.
tired I was. Like the lights are flashing, the whole building's shaking, and I was sleeping.
Sleeping
That's how
in
tired I was.
the-
Yeah,
in
this
the
has been
stands.
nicer.
We're
You
done
guys
at
like
9
going home, or
o'clock.
it's okay? Yeah.
We're done at 9 o'clock, home by like 9:30.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
there it's like, all right, now we got to drive 6.5 hours
Oh
to
my
get
gosh.
home and then
Yeah.
wait for kids to get picked up.
Oh.
Where are your parents? Do your parents care about you?
Why?
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
Did a TikTok about it.
It's so real.
It wasn't watched by many people.
Follow the Canadian youth
But it was
pastor
felt
on
deeply
TikTok.
by a few.
Good.
There's just so many. I should just randomly pick
Yep.
one up.
Rapid fire.
What's been your most memorable moment at this conference so far?
Oh, brothers.
Cade Thompson, no.
Yeah, no, probably meeting Peabody because
Yeah.
we've loved him for so long, and to meet him and him to be just a sweet dude. The highlight, I was coming up the stairs because I texted Peabody. He's in my contacts.
Oh, wow.
So is Kate Thompson.
Like friends now.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
now I
Best
just want to get
buds.
stopped on the street and someone say, and this is a true story. Last night, Kate Thompson was like, "Hey, can you send me some of the pictures that you took?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure. I'll airdrop them to you." He's like, "No, just text me." He's like, "Are you okay with that? If I give you my number?" I was like, "No, I suppose. Yeah,
It's
whatever."
fine. It's
I
cool.
guess it's okay.
And then I said,
I don't usually do this, just so you
Yeah.
know, but I'll give you my number.
I said, legit though, if someone ever says who's the most famous person in your contacts, if I phone you,
Oh, yeah.
you would better answer so that I don't look like a fool.
Now
Yeah.
you're 2 steps from Kirk Cameron. Apparently, Cade and Kirk Cameron are friends.
For reals?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this with
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because if you listen to last episode, you tried to get an autograph and there was a misunderstanding.
Yeah, I have a bad relationship
Yeah.
with Kirk Cameron
So
now. I have
Cade's going
feelings
to
about
try
it.
and fix it for us.
That would be
and-
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because I grew up watching Growing Pains.
Oh yeah.
Probably the highlight though, so I texted Peabody and I was like, hey, if you got a moment before the concert, I want to pop in just to talk about, because we hadn't talked about if I was going to introduce him or
Right.
what the plan was. That's a whole other story. And he was like, so then when he got to the building, he's like, hey, I'm here if you want to pop up, because his dressing room was upstairs. And as I was going upstairs, my daughter, who should have been in session, was sitting drawing in the foyer.
Yeah.
And I just was like, motioned her over, and then she followed me up, and she had no idea. She's like, where are we going? And I just opened the door, and Peabody was there, and her heart just started pumping because she's like, what do I say to this guy? And
Just
he
a
was
normal
just
dude.
so cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, he
what else?
signed autographs.
What
for
else? Yeah, I
kids
came out and talked to the
yeah.
kids. But for me, it's not every kid got to see. Like, they could have saw him after the concert, but not everybody got to go up there before he was full of sweat and kind of grody and everything, and get to say hi to him and stuff. And then he was cool. He took a picture with her, and then she showed it to everybody in the
yeah.
building. But that was the coolest, to get
Yeah.
to meet some of these people and be like, man, they are legit bros who love Jesus.
Yes.
That was so cool.
Yeah, that's been fun actually interviewing them on the podcast. It's
Yeah.
been great to get to know them on that kind of level.
Yeah. It was a little
Yeah.
sad we didn't get to do one with Peabody, but I know he's a busy guy, so
Yeah.
we had to settle for no. Okay.
Hey, I'll take second place
Yeah.
to Peabody.
Is this a good final question? Because we probably have to go soon, eh?
Officially we've got 6 minutes, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How big of an impact do you think this conference will have on Medicine Hat for years to come?
it's a great question.
It is a great question.
Whatever God has planned.
Whatever God has planned, in my prayers for this, I kept trying to set realistic expectations. And people would be like, well, what do you hope to get? And I'd say, I think we could get this many kids. We have this many at Citywide. So I would try to set myself up for success by saying, well, maybe we'll get 100 kids or something. And I felt like God said, you're dreaming too small. Dream God-sized dreams. Don't limit this to what you guys can do. So I started to speak the dreams. And the dream really, my dream, and this is not the conference, this is just what I've been sensing and what people in the city have been sensing for a long time now, and just people that I talk to who listen to the Spirit, is that he's doing something, that he is. And I spoke this to my church when we were still in the old building. I said, God's going to do it, and you are going to be part of it, or you're going to watch it, and you're going to talk about it, and you're going to be like, you might be skeptical, you might be against it. There's going to be Christians there's going to be Christians who are like, that's not of God, because they're afraid of it, they can't control it, which, if you can control it, maybe it's not from God, but God's moving. And I think this is part of that. And in my prayer time, I felt like God said, there's going to be a before conference and an after conference. You're going to talk about, remember life before that. It was cool, but we didn't experience this. And I just felt like there was this wave, and these kids who are here, they're part of this.
Yep.
It's not just like, oh, well, look at the youth pastors, they put this together. It's like, we've got zero influence in most of these schools, except through these kids who are in there. And so what do I think the impact would be if it was based on you and I and Levi and Aaron, Brian and Simon and Julie? I don't want to miss anybody, but all of those folks at that table, I'd be pretty skeptical and say it's going to be a cool weekend, and we'll have another cool weekend next year. But because I really believe God is in it, because I believe it would be disobedient to not have done this.
Right.
I believe that there's going to be some kids who don't take advantage of it, who God is really pulling at, and they, for whatever reason, will resist it. But I think there is a much larger core who are going to be filled up, who are going to get plugged into a local church, who are going to be fed all year long. And I believe our schools are coming back. It's not just the Christian school that's going to celebrate Jesus. It's not just the Catholic schools that are going to talk about Jesus, but we're not going to have to change the rules. We're not going to have to demand, certain bathrooms or certain rules that you can't legislate righteousness. They're just going to go and be people of God, and God is going to make that a place of God, and the principal or whoever, the district can be like, oh, we're going to do these and these and these, and if the government said, you know what, we're going to make the speed limit 200,
right?
But we're all like, that's insane. We're going to drive 110, or if you're like me, 112. We don't need to follow a bad rule that they made.
Right.
And the district can be like, we're going to make these rules. But if the students are righteous, doesn't matter what they say, because they're just going to follow God's law. And so what do I think this conference is what's the impact? I think we're going to see years from now, preferably months from now, but realistically, God's going to move, but people need to follow. And it's going to take maybe a little bit.
And you can't wait for your friends to do it. You have to be the one to take the step.
So I think the impact is going to be a redeemed city. That's it.
What do you think?
Yeah.
They
wanted to. That's in lieu of the laugh track.
The laugh track,
that you were requesting.
The clap track.
Josh, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. We're going to have you back on again at some point. But we have a worship session to get to. So
yes.
See everyone. Thanks for watching.